So we're back with the final update on COP26. The COP, the Conference of Parties, the climate negotiations are over for this time. Where did we end up? We have a treaty. It contains some promises, taking us on a pathway towards, as it seems, a warming of about 2.4 degrees, which is higher than the initial target of 2, and it's definitely higher than the 1.5 degree target. They claim that the 1.5 degree target is still alive, even though it's looking bleak if we're going to get there. But still, 2.4. The differences here sound very small on the temperature scale that you're used to thinking about weather, but implications of a change of 0.2, 0.3 degrees actually matter quite significantly when it comes to the adverse effect on a global level. So the differences here do matter. Still, 2.4, it's something. It is an agreement. We're on to something. What else do we have in there? Well, if we go back to Paris, in Paris 2015, there was this agreement on how these agreements should work. So they set up a framework where the parties, all the countries, would revisit every 5 years with new promises for emission reductions. And that is what happened this year. So they have agreed on how to reduce emissions this year. But there was an important update to the framework, how to work with this, in that they say that they will come back next year with additional promises. And that is because basically 5 years is too long, as it seems, for locking us into this pathway towards higher temperature than we would wish. So hopefully we will see new and better promises already next year, which is an improvement from years past. And there is something else that happened. There almost was a phrasing in there of phasing out coal. There has never been any wording of phasing out any fossil fuels in any of the climate treaties, which is quite staggering considering that everybody knows what it's about. But at the last minute, it got changed from phasing out coal to phasing down coal, which is much weaker. This was initiated by India. It's not as good as it could have been, but still, this is the first time that it's mentioned that some fossil fuels is going to be phased anything really. So still something, it's a good thing. Let's hope they come back later with stricter phrasings. And they're back again to the industries, the companies that need to innovate our way out of this. The reason why India can't or don't want to use the word phasing out coal is because they can't get acceptance for that internally within the country, because there are basically 1.5 billion people rising out of poverty, and cutting out the large share of their electricity supply at that point wouldn't fly. So the more cheap alternatives such as solar, wind power, what have you, become available, the easier it is for them to make these promises. And the same will go for, well, every other vertical. Aviation, when we get electric flights, it's going to be easier to say that, yes, let's implement regulation also on international flights. And for food, the same thing. When we have more low-emitting alternatives for producing high-quality food, the easier it is for countries to make promises in that domain. And as we said before, the topic of food was basically absent in this COP. We can't expect it to appear in the future. And to finalize something else pretty cool that happened this last day was that in the UK there was a statement from the major supermarkets that they will halve their footprints by 2030. So there is change happening, and this is a brilliant example of the industry taking the lead. And after they start doing that, of course, it's much easier for the policymakers to implement policies that will force everyone else to come along with them. So awesome, thank you for this, and I'm looking forward to talking about this stuff next year again for the next COP27. And hopefully we'll have some even better news that time around.